ourselves 3 questions. What happened to the vibrant sugar growing regions, for example? What happened to coffee? I always remind people that it's an emotional issue because people like us, Chairman, we went to school because there was coffee. Okay? The moment you went to class and you actually got a small note from the secretary of your cooperative society, you are allowed to be in class because there will be income, isn't it? There will be an income. What happened to cotton? I remember in 80, we tried to revive the cotton through KIPRA. I remember Rose, we provided resources for that to revive cotton industry. Is it ARC or I'm trying to, no, I think it's through IDRC. I was in IDRC and I was sending resources to KIPRA to try and help revive the cotton industry. That was in the early years of like 2002. And those are just 3 examples. We can talk about contract farming in Bari. We can talk about what happened in so many other places. So many others. So what happened? Then we ask, what happened to their production and productivity? What happens to the investments that were made? The whole issue when we talk about markets and when we are looking at these issues is that if you cannot appropriate returns from your own investment, then those investments and even business will die. Because you invest on the basis that you're going to get returns. So, in this case, the markets were interfered with, and the market development, the market protection, and the market regulation failed. So we call it an institutional failure problem. And an institutional failure problem will automatically lead to a policy failure problem. And it is very important to acknowledge that and to know the mistakes and to correct the mistakes. So that institutional failure problem pushes policy failure, and the outcomes you see now are just the results of that. So when we talk about bottom-up, we are trying to say, how can we resuscitate and solve those problems? The abject poverty we observe in some regions has thus a bearing on institutional and policy failure problems. Thus, it is important to create interventions at the bottom of the pyramid to make markets work for them. When I was writing this speech, I was telling myself that, I can talk about markets until cows come home, just because I have a strong belief in markets. But I will save you from that. I will try just to make sure that I'm brief. But I do believe in markets. And I think it has nothing to do with me as a regulator. Because I also, in one of my tour of policy duty, I have been a regulator. I used to say that once a regulator fails, then the market will also fail. It's an institutional failure problem. But then we come to the second question, why economic transformation? This is an area that KIPRA has done very well. I remember commenting on this, is it last year or something, on why economic transformation has failed in one of your seminars. It is something that I have worked on in my own life because economic transformation is very, very critical. There are 2 driving factors that have failed us. One of them is human capital, and human capital can actually be related to capital accumulation. And we can even say, get one small indicator, one single indicator called savings, even though we would like to look at the totality of capital accumulation. For us to ignite sustained economic transformation, we need to raise capital accumulation to thresholds that can ignite economic transformation. In actual fact, even structuralist economists have come up with such argument that we have thresholds. You have to get to thresholds that can ignite economic transformation. One of the examples that I have always looked at is the East Asian tigers. And Kenya actually adopted export-led model, believing that we can reciprocate, or we can actually recreate a transformation from ourselves, looking at East Asian tigers in terms of economic transformation. But the East Asian tigers spent about 50 years in terms of human capital development, before we could even see that transformation. So what do we need to do? For us to raise the human capital levels, we need to invest in education, we need to invest in health, and we need actually to rethink about the nutrition outcomes that we really want, and even how our labor markets work. All these are interventions that are required, and we want to make sure that once we do that, we can boost the human capital development. This will support critical leadership in institutions, by the way. And this is why the better agenda is important to us, as it touches on every segment of the economy and its future transformation. 2 days ago, James and I were making a presentation to the cabinet in terms of economic development, and you had a graph showing where the low middle income